house insulation probably.
They're supposed to be somewhat mobile, so I'd say we can probably do installation.
You need a few minutes to eat, or you okay?
No, I'm sorry, I don't mean to hold you up. We'll talk.
All right.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Mr. Man, Mr. McGuire, you got ready?
Yeah.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Today is Tuesday, October 6th, at 7 o'clock, and we're going to have a regular trustee meeting. We'll stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance and get the meeting started. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'd like to have a moment of silence to honor the military, firefighters, road workers, and sheriff's deputies as they serve our community here overall. Thank you. Tracy, can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee McLaughlin.
Present.
Trustee McGuire.
Present.
Trustee Mann.
Present.
Okay, so next thing on the agenda is a review for approval of prior meeting minutes, and we have none to approve, so we'll go past that. The next thing is old business, and the first thing on the old business is Ohio Public Works issue 2 money. Comments?
Mr. President, I make a motion that we move forward with the proposal from the Ohio Public Works Commission to initiate the Derby Road, the Kimmel project.
I thought we had some questions that needed answered with that. He's going to come back and give us some answers before we move forward.
Well, the issue's gonna be dead if we don't vote on it tonight.
We need our questions answered before we
You're
vote.
stalling. You do not want this for the residents of the Blairwood, Mr. McLaughlin, so you're gonna let it die in legislation?
We discussed this in the work session, and we was going to get some answers to our questions before we vote.
Why are you against it when you were for it before? I want to know that.
I spoke about that in the work session.
So,
So go ahead with what you're doing.
your motion on the table, run the meeting.
So you have a motion on the floor to proceed with this issue 2 money. Any questions?
You don't have a second.
That's correct, no. Thank you.
I'll second the motion since some citizens have called me about this issue.
Okay, so there again, the question I have, so we have a motion on the floor to proceed with this issue 2 money. Is there any questions? And if anybody was here for the work session to hear my question, I don't want to throw any money away, the work we've already done. This is to get an answer back on that question, and we need an answer to that before a vote.
But they also said we still have the chance to back out. At this point, you're just walking away from the money.
No, he did not
Most
say. He
likely
did not say that, Jim.
Most likely.
He did not say that, Jim.
You squander the chance to do that.
He did not say that, Jim.
And, okay, we're talking about having to come up with $40,000 in the next 2 years out of a $700,000 budget. If we can't find that money, then we're not doing our job as trustees, gentlemen. So, there is a risk. It could be that work has to come out. But with the overall improvement to the roads and the fact that we originally lost the funding,
I agree with that. I agree with that.
I mean, the curb appeal for the neighborhood's gonna help us with taxes. It's gonna make the residents happy. They've been asking for this for a long time. But if you're willing to vote against it, that's
Any
your
other questions?
call.
Any other questions?
I just have a comment, is what I'm saying.
I'm sorry?
I still have a comment that if there's not a resolution passed, I'm not signing my name to something I know that there's no money that can be come out of the budget. That's my comment.
So let the record reflect the fiscal officer is gonna refuse to do her job.
It
after
not,
the
it not
trustees
says
approve
nothing,
this.
I am telling you the fact. You are putting words in people's mouths and putting your comments
No,
on
you are
stuff.
voting as a fourth trustee, Ms.
No, I'm
Evans.
not, I'm telling you what I'm not gonna do. You cannot force me to sign a piece of paper. You cannot
And you
force me by
cannot
what
make
you
up
sign.
rules to
You
suit
cannot
your
Hey, hey,
force me to
argument.
sign a
hey.
piece of paper.
Hey, we had this, we look at the sheriff here, okay, we got to conduct a meeting here. So Tracy made her point, that she will not sign that, and let go. I guess we need a roll call, Tracy.
Trustee McLaughlin,
Abstain, because I need my questions answered.
trustee trustee Mann,
Yes.
trustee McGuire.
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay, so any other old business we want to discuss? I guess I do. I want to talk about the Kindness Center and the fact that, and I talked about this in the work session, but I do want to discuss it again in the public meeting. There's a guy that works for the county, his name's Hank Stanley. He is over in the Kindness Center, and I spoke to him. I'm not gonna give his phone number on public record, but I'll give it to you if you ask him if you want to talk to me, he'll tell you the same thing. The Kindness Center was never closed. And I just feel that we're not being transparent, with us being in there and not having our offices open. Doing that, and we can also have the meetings in the gymnasium, just trying to be open to the public. So I just want that to be known under old business, because it's been stated numerous times that the Kindness Center is closed, and no, it's not. Any other old business we want to discuss? Yes?
What do you want to do? Have the meeting in the gymnasium?
Yes.
So who's gonna set this up for the meeting?
Okay, specify setup, as in put the chairs and tables out and all that, or what do you mean? I guess we need a little communication. I'd have to talk to Hank and just actually, I've been in the gym, I don't know what's over there now. Last time I was in the gym was the Christmas party for the fire department back in January or something it was. It was after, I think it was late, I think it was after Christmas. But that's something we can work on, get the answers to those questions, get the answer to that question. You know, who opens the door, who closes it, who's, you know, because there's going to be, they'll go what security and all that, but I'd like to, I will take it upon myself to get those questions answered and send you an email
All right.
on how we're going to do that. Because then also in the short term, Tracy, so we spoke about, there's this nest egg of money that's put out there for extra expenses you have for the corona. We talked about this in the work session. It has to be an extra expense due to the corona, due to COVID-19. It was not in the budget, and it was incurred between March 1st and the end of this year. Well, if we have to, and Mr. Mann, I mean, I think you would have to, so, you know, through this meeting, these chairs are clean. When you go in Home Depot, whatever, they clean the grocery carts. They clean the cart down in between the bodies. I mean, I've been where I used a little credit card machine, and when you get done with that, they're spraying it again. So somebody's going to have to go behind the meeting, go into the front of the meeting and clean. And can we put that expense in our COVID thing? Because so could we hire a cleaning company to clean before us and after us, do that so we all feel safer going in there? We don't, I mean, you go in there, you don't know who, maybe the evening before the place had a public meeting with somebody else and you don't know who was in there, what they're doing. in the way this is going on, we need to be clean, needs to be clean before we go and when we leave. And so that's something we need to talk about, and if we can do that, can we put that in the,
It's public health, it's public health.
yeah,
That's something you have to do in addition because of this coronavirus.
yes, right. So, for anybody that wasn't in the work session, we did discuss in the work session about proceeding on with putting our meetings on Zoom. So, we're going to have a resolution next meeting, kind of not to exceed. And at this point in time, all the officials, the trustees, zoning, Captain Flag, everybody have so you'll be sitting there at Captain Flag and you're gonna have a tablet in front of you. And the residents can, have a link to get in there and they're gonna be able to see you. But when you talk for your presentation, then your picture gets bigger or whatever. So we did discuss that in the work session, residents. So and we're doing that because there's money available to do that and to get our people become more transparent. So anyway, yeah, I'd like to proceed on, but yeah, we can't just walk over there and open the door, Mr. Mann. We're gonna have to get some things resolved, and we can, as I said, I'll get a hold of Hank and get some questions answered, and we can email back and forth and see how we want to proceed on that.
Okay.
I don't see it happening next meeting, guys. The next meeting will be here. I don't see it happening that fast, but move that direction. Okay, any other old business? Jim, any other business you want to discuss? Nope. Mr. Mann?
No,
Okay, new business. Under new business, the first thing is security standards for public meetings for clarity of the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. Mr. McGuire, you have this.
Trustees, we worked out some details in the work session to, at this point, leave the seating to 10 for this room, just on the way this layout is. Number two, anybody who leaves the seat will be asked to leave the meeting.
I couldn't hear you. Say it again.
Somebody leaves the seat.
Oh, somebody gets up. Okay.
They will be asked to leave the meeting.
You have to go to the bathroom, get up and do what?
Leaves the seat to approach this. Basically, the reason for that voting is if anybody comes between here and there during our meeting, that is going to be what engages our security for the meetings.
Okay. So don't get out of your seat. Okay.
So, and that's anybody who crosses that plane. Same goes for residents who are disrupted, are interrupting the vote, speaking out of turn and not when it's public speaking. Is everybody on board with those rules at this point?
Yeah. I think it's kind of happened because of the residents' way this township is being led and the path it's going down.
That's not why we're here. We're here to talk about rules.
I know that. I'm just telling you why, in my
And
opinion, why
the
it's happening.
people, okay,
So-
now that you went there, Mr. McLaughlin.
Yeah.
Everybody that's been disrupting the meeting has been part of your camp. You're promoting it, you're letting people talk out of turn. When you're the chair of the meeting, you should be gathering them down, but you let them talk and continue to disrupt the meeting and promote it. And that's why we're having this discussion. And to have the sheriffs in a position where they got to make a decision on whether to throw your wife out of the meeting because she's being disruptive, that's an issue. I'm okay with the chair of the meeting deciding who goes and who stays and establishing control. That's part of the reason we have a chair for the meeting. But where I'm taking issue is, this meeting has become about the firing squad for the trustees and not for us to get anything done constructive. Everything is centered around somebody coming in with something to try and throw us under the bus or attack or humiliate or embarrass.
And why do you think that's happening?
Apparently, you think it's okay, and that's the way that government business should be conducted. But at some point, the chair of the meeting has to start promoting some unity, some sense of community, and trying to make some sort of attempt to bring us together versus attack, 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 and keep everybody on the defensive. Because now that we've made a decision, or we're going to be voting on a decision for Zoom, this conduct, these speakers, they're going to be part of the broadcast.
Or the meeting? Are you asking me a question there? You're asking me that question, are they going to be on the Zoom? Is that are you asking me that question?
No, it's going to be broadcasting it as
Yes.
broadcasting.
Yes. Okay. We're on the same page. Yes. I agree with what you're saying, Jim. We need a little more law and order in the meeting. And I told you in the work session, I agree with you on that.
There are people not coming to this meeting because they're sick of the fighting up front. They're sick of the bickering. You know, there used to be people that come to see their neighbors at these meetings. Once we get rid of this COVID thing, you know, that's the only time you see your neighbors, in church or at the trustee meeting. So, part of some of these rules, because we can make the rules, just like you said earlier, we don't have to have public speaking. I like feedback, but not when it's constructive and it's geared for embarrassment and humiliation, and it's a game of gotcha. Somebody can make a comment, be civil, have a discussion, chat with the fire chief, chat with the police, talk about the problems on their street. That's great. But we got to get back to the business of being trustees and getting things done, other than fighting lawsuits. That's all I have.
Mr. Mann, you got comments?
No, I'm
Okay, so into that one, next one, discussion on setting guidelines of future meetings. Mr. Mann, that one's yours.
okay, I thought we've talked about Zoom for a few times. I thought the reason for going with Zoom was to do away with meetings in this open area because of all the virus that was going around. Now, for those of you that have looked at, been watching what's been going on television, the debate and all these things, and I'm sitting up under a fan right here. So my question is, where is that air coming from out of that fan? Is it coming from outside, or is it coming from this building someplace? So things change here. Where we were talking about 6 feet, 6 feet is no longer any good, because if you're in a building, because you got the air conditioning running, and after you've been in there a couple hours, things change in that particular room. So I thought the reason for Zoom was that you're sitting at home someplace and then you're talking, and the meeting goes on. But that's where I was. And the other thing I was gonna say in this meeting, which, doesn't really matter, but going back to one meeting per month rather than two. That's all I have for my comments.
Okay. Anything to add, Mr. McGuire?
Well, I wanted to
What?
speak to that. I guess I heard, trustee man, I heard the same thing you did. It seemed like a conflicting agenda. We talked about Zoom for safety and to cut down the exposure, but yet broadcast to more. But at the same token, you want to blow out the meetings and have a big audience and take those risks. Now, if I'm faced with the choice of having to sit in a large room full of people, or I can satisfy quorum sitting at home, I'm going to do the meeting at home. So, I see the conflict that Mr. Mann's bringing up there. So, but the other comment about going back to one meeting per month, I'm okay with that. I'd like to make a motion that we go back to one meeting a month, first Tuesday of the month, for the remainder of the year. We can revisit that issue first of the year.
Is anyone gonna second it?
We tried one meeting a month, and there's just too much to discuss, there's too much time in between meetings, things come up. And then you have the situation more often where you need a special meeting and you gotta advertise for it and all that. I say
We've got to
Especially
decide,
because-
we got a second on this before we open the discussion. Point of order.
there is no, there's nobody second, he asked the question if he will second it.
Do we have a second on the motion, Ron?
Who seconded it?
For lack of second.
Nobody seconded it.
The motion dies
The
then.
motion dies.
Okay.
Okay, so discussion on accepting the new proposed contract for the Ohio's First Responder Grant, LLC. We kind of discussed this in the work session also. You want to give us a short version, Mr. Wolf?
Yes, Ohio First Responders Grant LLC's been working for the township for a good portion of 4 years, and you've awarded the most money in this entire Dayton region to a community for all these grants coming from the U.S. government, and we want to continue that success. But you don't have the total ability to do it yourself. The township has always relied on a vendor by the name of Ohio First Responder Grants that has done 90% of the work, and we did some work in-house. And so he's come back with a renewal of his contract, or an update of the contract, to also offer the ability to manage the entire process for you, to make sure all paperwork in-house matches all paperwork at the federal government. Anything that is suspect or not correct or a paper missing could result to an audit loss and a payback of all your funds to the federal government, even though they've been spent already. One of the other things that he's offered through this process is to apply for a SAFER grant, SAFER, which is a staffing grant to go for 3 years of free funding, 100% paid, of new paramedics to join your fire department. That is a grant that the township is like to seek and would like to do that again. Plus, you have 2 AFG grants currently that were awarded that you have to advertise, both a $230,000 ambulance and about a $60,000 electric rescue tools, and someone has to manage that process. If you would vote to accept this contract today, this company and his owner, Mickey Smith, would continue that pursuit for you and tie up all loose edges. If you vote, you'll have to then get with we'll have to set it up with a notary, so each of you could independently sign the document. But you just need a verbal vote to accept it today.
I'll make a motion to accept the Ohio's First Responders Grant Agreement.
I'll second the motion.
So we have a motion on the floor to accept this Ohio First Responders Grant contract. Any questions?
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
Somebody had told me that this needs to be notarized. I could have brought my notary stuff and couldn't have it go through. I don't know why.
It has to be a notary on the outside because you handle the funding and the payment of the bills to the vendor, so you can't notarize it.
That's what she said.
That's what the vendor says. So,
Okay, anyway, so we'll try to set up Lori with the ag. You'll give her a shout, Steve?
yeah, I will tomorrow.
Okay, so anyway, any other questions? We haven't had a vote. Any more questions? We have a roll call, please, Tracy?
Trustee McLaughlin,
Yes.
trustee Mann,
Yes.
trustee McGuire.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Do we have the contract to sign here?
Can't sign it.
Can't sign it, we use motorized. Okay, so next one on the new business is signing the agreement to accept the 2020 demolition grant from the land bank.
In your package, trustees, if you don't mind, I might step in. And I sent you by email the same information, but the Montgomery County Treasurer's Office teamed with the land bank to come up with new money for the communities to split, to tear down homes. You were awarded $35,000 for 2020, but this program is a one-to-one match. In previous years, CDBG, which is a separate program, Community Development Block Grant, they awarded $200,000 to the community to utilize, not a cash payment to the township, but they held $200,000 and they began to clean up and abate properties, so they're down to about 170. So we will write that down. Your CDBG grant pot of gold is 170. Now, CDBG has agreed to team up with the land bank, and the township doesn't have to have any match to get this $35,000. They're gonna take that $35,000 from the 170. Now we've got $70,000. And then we'll still have 140-some thousand left on top of that. So in other words, you just grew your amount from 170 to 205. But you have to sign an agreement with the Land Bank 2.0, which is the second phase of the program, to say, yes, we want to be in. It will not, an average tear down of a home is about $20,000 today. A commercial structure can go as high as $40,000 or $50,000 because they have to do lead abatement, they have to do asbestos abatement. If it's ever been on fire, they have to do an arsenic abatement, on and on and on. So it's no longer get the tractor, knock it down, haul it away. That hygienist, so that's what builds the cost of that expense. So you trustees, even before you, Mike, Mr. Back, and then you come aboard, these lists have stayed pretty solid, waiting on that 200,000, which is now 170, to tear down existing properties. The same list will go to this 2.0, and we'll see how many of the properties that you all have driven around for the last 3 or 4 years looking at. How many of those will be torn down? We don't know that yet, because they have to get estimates on each structure we submit. But we have to have an agreement. Trustees have to sign an agreement with Land Bank in order to get this match money and get the ball rolling.
Mr. Wolf,
Yes?
is this 170 as part of that money? Does that continue on after year after year after year? Or
Let
do we
me-
get some each year?
I'll answer your question. Every year, CDBG has a application you have to apply for new money. If they award it from the previous year, it stays there and does not go away. They've used 30,000 of it so far on the first couple structures to do abatements. So your pot of money with CDBG is 170. This 2.0 is only this year, and it's only 35,000, and if you don't use it, if you don't sign the agreement, it goes back to another community in Dayton, in the Dayton area. However, they decide to distribute it. So this 35 is just this year. The 170 net now is still sitting at the county.
Is that part of the 170, is that part of the issue 2?
No,
That's a different part of money?
issue 2 has nothing to do with CDBG or
We have
land bank.
something in contract that talks about we get some money from CDBG. Is that money or was there another pot?
That's separate pot. The
Okay.
CDBG came in and gave a contribution towards your issue 2 project. Their first commitment was something in a range of 35,000 for the engineering fees. I wanted to tell you this as well. They've agreed to cover all additional engineering fees in this project for issue 2. But that is a complete separate project from tearing down homes. So all you have to consider either saying yes to this contract or no. It's been looked after and reviewed by prosecutor, county prosecutor, our county prosecutor assistant. And there's been no changes to this contract.
I'll make a motion, we accept the Montgomery County Land Bank Light Abatement Demo 2 program.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to accept the Montgomery County Land Bank Light Abatement Demo 2 program. Do we have any questions? Have a roll call, please, Tracy?
Trustee McLaughlin,
Yes.
trustee Mann,
Yes.
trustee McGuire.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, this is the contract that needs signed by you gentlemen tonight. It does not ask for a physical officer. I don't know where you want to start
You
here.
don't start out there.
Okay. And then it goes to the county commissioners, because they're the ones that oversee this project, and then the county commissioners will sign and send us a copy back.
Okay.
And I'll make sure that fiscal officer, we get a copy before the night's over with, so you have it.